Picture this. It's 11:47 p.m. A couple is lying in bed, backs turned to each other, two glowing screens lighting up the dark room. She scrolls through social media, half watching a video where someone says, "Never settle, you deserve more than bare minimum effort." Underneath, thousands of comments agree. She pauses, looks over at the shape of her husband's shoulders, hears his soft snore, and feels a knot in her chest. A thought slips in, quiet but sharp. Is this it? I deserve more than this. In another apartment, in another city, a man is sitting alone in his parked car outside his home. The engine is off, but he hasn't moved for 10 minutes. He's replaying the evening in his head, the small criticism about his job, the sigh when he forgot to buy the right brand of milk, the offhand comment, "You know, other husbands are a lot more romantic." He stares at his own tired reflection in the rearview mirror and thinks, "No matter what I do, it's never enough for her. I deserve better than this constant judgment." Two people, two different houses, the same sentence echoing in their heads. I deserve more. No shouting, no cheating, no big dramatic betrayal. Just two people quietly convinced that they are getting the worse end of the deal. Here's the uncomfortable truth that almost no one wants to say out loud. The belief that you always deserve more than what you are getting can slowly turn you into a terrible partner, while convincing you that you are the victim. Modern love is full of this quiet entitlement. It doesn't always look loud or arrogant. Sometimes it wears the face of exhaustion and disappointment. I do everything around here. I'm the only one trying. If my partner really loved me, they would just know what I need. That inner voice starts as a complaint, and then quietly becomes a core identity. If you listen carefully to many late-night conversations between friends, they sound like this: I could get someone better. He's not on my level. She doesn't appreciate what I bring to the table. I'm too good for this relationship. On the surface, this sounds empowering, like self-respect, like finally waking up to your worth. And sometimes, yes, it is about waking up from genuinely unhealthy situations. But in a lot of long-term relationships that could have been repaired, this mindset slowly poisons everything. Because once you are sure you deserve more than the person next to you, you stop actually seeing them. You see only their failures compared to the imaginary partner in your head. You stop asking, "How can we grow together?" and start asking, "Why aren't you already everything I want?" The part no one warns you about is this. The sentence, "I deserve more," can be a key that helps you leave a truly harmful relationship. Or it can be a knife you slowly turn against a relationship that could have become something beautiful if both of you had stayed humble enough to work on it. And most couples don't notice the moment when healthy standards quietly cross the line into entitlement. They just wake up one day, lying next to someone they once chose with love, and feel only this: "You are not enough for me. Do better. Or I'll find someone who will." Slowly, this mindset becomes a loop. At first it's just a feeling, something's off. I'm not happy. Then it turns into a comparison. Other couples look happier. Other partners do more. Then it grows into a private story in your head where you are the underappreciated main character and your partner is the one holding you back from the life you truly deserve. This is the entitlement loop in modern relationships. Not entitlement in the cartoonish sense of someone stomping their feet and demanding luxury or perfection. It's more subtle than that. It's the quiet inner narrative that says, "My needs should matter more than yours because I'm the one who's really trying here. I'm the one who's really aware, really evolved, really sacrificing." In this loop, every conflict becomes more evidence that you are right about your superiority. If your partner forgets something, it confirms, "See? They don't care." If they're tired and not emotionally available for one conversation, it confirms, "See? I'm the only one who shows up emotionally." You stop being curious about why they are the way they are, and you start collecting proof to support the verdict you've already decided. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means you're human, and humans hate feeling like the less valued one in a relationship. Many people grew up watching one parent overgive and the other take it for granted. Deep down they swore, "That will never be me. I will never be the one who settles." So as adults, they swing hard in the opposite direction. The moment they feel underappreciated, they put on emotional armor and say, "I deserve more than this. I will not be the fool." Underneath entitlement, there is almost always fear. Fear of becoming invisible like a parent once was. Fear of repeating a childhood where needs didn't matter. Fear of being trapped in a life that feels small and suffocating. So instead of saying, "I'm scared of being unseen," it feels safer to say, "You are not enough for me." There is also a very simple psychological defense at work. If I convince myself that I'm the one who deserves more, I don't have to look too closely at where I'm failing as a partner. The spotlight stays on you, not on me. I can criticize your emotional unavailability while ignoring my own coldness. I can complain that you don't plan romantic moments while forgetting the last time I said a genuine "thank you" instead of a sarcastic comment. In a lot of relationships, both people are quietly running this story at the same time. She believes she deserves a man who is more emotionally present, more ambitious, more attuned to her needs. He believes he deserves a woman who is more appreciative, less critical, more accepting of who he already is. They both carry invisible scoreboards in their minds. Every gesture, every chore, every compromise gets logged. I did this, and this, and this. What did you do? No one says it out loud, but emotionally it's like two accountants fighting over who invested more into the relationship's bank account, while both keep secretly withdrawing respect, patience, and kindness. The problem isn't just personality. It rarely is. It's also what they saw growing up. Maybe he watched his father getting constantly belittled and decided, "I'll never let a woman talk to me like that." So now, any complaint from his partner feels like an attack on his dignity. He doesn't hear, "I'm hurt," he hears, "You're not a real man," and his entitlement rises to protect him. "I deserve more respect than this." Maybe she watched her mother give up dreams, career, and energy while everyone else in the house took her for granted. She learned that being the good woman means sacrificing yourself until you're empty. As an adult, she promises herself, "No one will ever use me like that." So when her husband forgets the anniversary or doesn't notice how exhausted she is, it presses a very old bruise. Her defensive mind says, "I'm too good for this. I deserve better." On top of childhood patterns, men and women often speak different emotional languages. Many men were taught to express value through action, working hard, fixing problems, solving things. Many women were taught to express value through emotional labor, listening, caring, remembering details, anticipating needs. So he thinks, "Look at everything I'm doing," while she thinks, "Look at how alone I feel emotionally." Both feel like the more giving one. Both feel entitled to more in return. When this misunderstanding sits on top of old wounds, you get a relationship where no one feels seen and everyone feels superior. Resentment becomes the default setting. Small issues explode because they're not just about dishes or messages left unread, they're about a deeper story. "You're not giving me what I deserve." The entitlement loop is cruel because it offers a small, temporary high. It feels empowering to tell yourself, "I'm worth more than this." You feel strong, less helpless. But if you stay there too long, it quietly rots your ability to empathize, to take responsibility, to grow with someone instead of just judging them. You start treating your partner not as a human being with their own wounds and limits, but as a product you can review. Could be better, not meeting expectations, maybe I should upgrade. And love does not survive very long in a climate where both people feel like they are doing the other a favor by staying. If we zoom in on one side for a moment, let's start from the woman's inner world, because in a lot of modern conversations about never settle and know your worth, it is often her voice that gets amplified online. Imagine a woman that kids lunches, answers a few work emails, throws a load of laundry into the machine, reminds her who has been married for 7 years. She wakes up before everyone else, packs partner about the parent-teacher meeting, and mentally tracks a dozen moving pieces of family life. By 9 a.m., her mind already feels like a browser with 20 tabs open, some of them frozen, some of them playing music she can't locate. On the outside, life looks stable. There is a home, there is food in the fridge, there might even be a vacation now and then. But on the inside, she carries a constant background feeling, "I'm alone with so much of this." Most women in long-term relationships don't wake up thinking, "How can I be entitled today?" They wake up thinking, "How am I going to hold all of this together?" The sentence, "I deserve more," usually doesn't start from arrogance. It starts from exhaustion. She wants to feel chosen, not just once on a wedding day, but in daily, small ways. She longs for her partner to notice the tiny details she juggles, to see that behind the clean house and the paid bills and the fed children, there is a tired woman who is sometimes scared she's disappearing into the role of wife or mom or support system. When he comes home, she watches to see what he reaches for first. The kids, his phone, her eyes. She doesn't always say it out loud, but she's scanning for an answer to a question that lives under her skin. Am I still important to you, or am I just part of the furniture of your life? When he scrolls through his phone at dinner, or half listens while she talks about her day, or sighs when she brings up something that bothers her, it doesn't land as a small moment. It lands as confirmation of a deeper fear. I am not really seen. I am not really heard. I am not really chosen. Out of that fear, the inner narrative begins to shift. At first it's, I wish he would appreciate me more. Then, why am I the only one who cares about this? Then, a good partner would never make me feel this alone. And slowly, I deserve more than this. For many women, I deserve more becomes a shield. It protects them from feeling foolish for caring so much. It protects them from the shame of wondering, did I choose wrong? Did I stay too long? It's easier to hold anger than to sit with grief. So the anger wraps itself around the sadness and calls itself standards. She remembers posts that say, don't accept the bare minimum. Real men do X, Y, Z. You are a queen, demand your throne. There is some truth in that, because no one should accept disrespect or neglect. But mixed in with the truth, a more dangerous message creeps in. If your partner isn't meeting your every emotional need in the way you imagine, they simply aren't good enough. You can always find better. Inside her, an emotional ledger forms. She starts counting. How many times did she compromise? How many times did she listen to his worries? How many birthdays did she plan? Surprises did she organize? Quiet sacrifices did she make? In the other column, she tallies his gestures. Over time, the numbers in her head never quite add up. When the ledger feels unfair, entitlement steps in to balance the pain. I deserve more romance. I deserve more help. I deserve a man who just gets it without me having to explain. The word deserve here is trying to correct years of feeling like her needs are at the bottom of the list. But the moment entitlement takes over, her tone often starts to shift, sometimes without her noticing. Her requests become tests. Her questions come with hidden traps. If he really loved me, he would know what's wrong without me telling him. She stops giving him clear, kind feedback and starts giving him silent exams that he doesn't know he's taking. At a dinner that begins warmly, she might say, "You never plan anything special for us. Other husbands take their wives out." On the surface, it's a complaint. Underneath, it's a plea. Please show me that I still matter to you. Please prove to me that I didn't build my life around someone who stopped choosing me. He hears criticism. She feels heartbreak. He hears, "I'm failing again." She feels, "I'm not worth the effort." When he withdraws to protect himself, when he goes quiet, when he shuts down in the face of what sounds like constant dissatisfaction, it confirms her worst fears. He doesn't care. So she leans harder into the belief that she deserves more, deserves better, deserves someone who would never make her feel this way. What often goes unsaid is that many women live with a constant low-level anxiety of being replaceable. The fear that one day he will wake up and decide she's no longer attractive enough, interesting enough, fun enough. Social media doesn't help. There is always someone younger, more eager, more filtered, more exciting in the endless scroll. So entitlement becomes a kind of armor against that fear. I'm the prize. I'm the one who deserves more. If anyone is going to leave, it's me, not you. It's a way of staying in control in a world where love sometimes feels very fragile and uncertain. Underneath the sharp sentences and the eye rolls and the sarcastic comments, there is usually a very simple longing. Please see me. Please choose me. Please don't make me feel stupid for needing you. The tragedy is that the more her entitlement voice grows, the harder it becomes for her partner to actually meet that longing. He no longer feels invited. He feels evaluated. Every gesture is graded. Every mistake is remembered. Slowly, He stops taking emotional risks with her because the cost of failure feels too high. Meanwhile, she looks at his distance and thinks, "See? I was right. I do deserve more than this." This doesn't mean her pain is not real. It is very real. The invisible labor, the emotional load, the loneliness inside a shared home, these are not illusions. But when the sentence, "I deserve more," becomes the main identity, there is less and less space for curiosity, for what is happening inside you, and more space for, why aren't you already the partner I imagined? In many couples around the world, two people sit on the same couch, both feeling unappreciated, both feeling like the one who gives more, both secretly whispering, "I deserve better than this." Her version is often wrapped in emotional overload and fear of abandonment. His version is often wrapped in feeling disrespected and like he can never win. We've just looked more closely at her side, not to blame her, but to understand the emotional logic that can turn real pain into quiet entitlement. In a moment, we'll flip the lens and translate what all of this looks like from his side, in his emotional language, so both can finally see the same picture instead of fighting over who deserves more. From the outside, a lot of this looks like drama, complaining, nagging, coldness, distance. From the inside, it's two very different emotional languages crashing into each other. So let's slow down and translate. If you're a man watching this, you might have heard sentences like, "You never appreciate me," "Other husbands don't do this," "I deserve more than this," and felt your chest tighten. To you, it might sound like a personal performance review where you're always failing. It can feel deeply unfair, especially if you're working hard, paying bills, fixing things, trying to be stable. In your inner language, effort often equals love. You might think, "Do you not see what I'm doing? Do you not see that I could have walked away, but I'm still here?" So when she talks about deserving more, it can hit like, "You're not good enough. You're a disappointment. You're replaceable." Here's the translation she rarely says out loud. When she says, "You never appreciate me," what she often means emotionally is, "I feel invisible next to you, and it scares me." When she says, "Other husbands do more," the hidden line under it is, "I'm afraid I backed the wrong person and that terrifies me because I've invested my whole life here." When she says, "I deserve more," she's often trying to convince herself that her needs matter, because for years she has quietly acted as if they don't. You might hear a personal attack. She's often crying for reassurance, but the cry comes out wrapped in criticism. That doesn't make the criticism okay, but understanding the emotional message can help you respond differently. When she tests you, when she creates little emotional exams like, "If you really loved me, you just know," it's not because she's trying to torture you. It's because somewhere deep inside, she doubts her own worth. If you choose her clearly, if you show up without being forced, she feels safe. If she has to explain and ask and remind, she feels like she's begging for scraps. Of course, from your perspective, it feels the opposite. You may feel like you're constantly wrong, constantly measured and found lacking. So to protect yourself, you withdraw. You shut down. You tell yourself your own sentence. "I deserve to come home to peace, not constant criticism. I deserve appreciation. I deserve respect." Now let's translate your side for her. When you go quiet in the middle of an argument, many women read that as, "He doesn't care. He's emotionally checked out. I'm talking to a wall." In her language, love is expressed through engagement. Eye contact, questions, emotional presence. Silence feels like abandonment. But in a lot of men's inner world, that silence means something very different. It often means, "I'm overwhelmed and terrified of making this worse. I don't have the right words. I don't know how to fix this. If I say the wrong thing, it will explode, so I'd rather say nothing." Your withdrawal is a clumsy attempt at preventing damage, not a deliberate act of cruelty. When you escape into your phone, your work, your hobbies, she often sees it as proof that you find everything else more interesting than her. In your language, those escapes are often pressure valves. You're trying not to drown in the feeling of failing at home, so you go where you still feel competent, in control, or at least numb. When she brings up the same issue again and again, you might hear, "You're never enough. You always screw up. Nothing you do matters." The entitlement in your head responds, "What about everything I am doing? Don't I deserve some peace?" Don't I deserve some respect in my own home? Here's the translation she wishes you could hear. Repeated complaints are rarely about the thing itself. They are usually about loneliness. When she repeats herself, it's often because she feels like you didn't really take it in the first time. She's hoping that if she says it with the right angle, the right example, you will finally say, I get it. I see why this hurts you. Let's tackle it together. The nagging you hate so much is often her clumsy way of saying, I don't know how to carry this without you. Now flip the translation again. When you, as a man, say in your head, I deserve more. Appreciation, that's not just ego talking. Underneath, there is usually a boy who grew up being told to be useful, to perform, to provide. He might have been praised when he achieved and ignored when he was struggling. As an adult, he pours himself into work and responsibility, hoping it buys him love and respect. When he comes home and mostly hears what he hasn't done, it hits right where he's most insecure. So entitlement becomes his shield. I deserve better than being spoken to like this. I deserve someone who sees how hard I work. Saying that to himself protects him from the crushing question, am I failing my family? If you're a woman listening, this doesn't mean you have to tolerate disrespect or laziness. It means that when he seems proud or defensive, it's often not because he doesn't care about your feelings. It's because your words are landing directly on his deepest fear, I am not enough. When you say, real men would, he hears, you're not a real man. When you roll your eyes or compare him to other husbands, you might think you're motivating him. In his inner world, it often feels like rejection, not just of his behavior, but of his whole identity. That doesn't justify him checking out or stonewalling you, but it explains why he retreats instead of leaning in. Underneath both stories, there is the same core vulnerability. Please don't prove that I'm unlovable. Please don't confirm my fear that I chose wrong, or that I am wrong. This is where entitlement and genuine needs get tangled up. Her deep need, to feel seen, chosen, emotionally held. His deep need, to feel respected, valued, not constantly judged as a failure. When those needs are ignored or mishandled, they harden into entitlement. Her version, I deserve a man who anticipates my needs, who is more romantic, more emotionally intelligent. His version, I deserve a woman who doesn't nag, who appreciates what I do, who lets me be myself without always trying to change me. If you both stay stuck in the language of deserve, you stop hearing each other. You only hear your own internal lawyer building a case. The translation you both need sounds more like this. When she says, I deserve more, she often means, I'm scared that my life energy is being poured into a relationship where I don't feel loved in the way I understand love. When he says, I deserve respect, he often means, I am terrified that no matter what I do, I will always be seen as not good enough, and I don't know how to keep trying from that place. Most partners are not waking up thinking, how can I hurt this person? They are waking up trying to protect their own raw spots, using clumsy strategies they copied from childhood, culture, or the internet. One protects with criticism. The other protects with withdrawal. One uses high standards as armor. The other uses pride. Both call it, I deserve better. If you can start to see entitlement not as pure selfishness, but as a distorted way of saying, I don't want to disappear here, then the conversation can finally shift. You can move from, you're not enough for me, to, here's where I feel scared, small, or unseen, and I want us to face that together. Here's where we go under the surface and say the things that are hard to swallow. Because without facing these, I deserve more, will keep sounding righteous in your head while your relationship quietly dies in real life. Harsh truth number 1. You are not always the more generous one. In your private movie, you're probably the main character who sacrifices more, tries harder, loves deeper. Most people feel this way. It's very common to dramatically overestimate your own contributions and underestimate your partner's. You remember every time you compromised, comforted, stayed patient when you wanted to scream. You don't remember as clearly the moments when they bit their tongue instead of attacking back, when they picked up slack without making a speech, when they absorbed your bad mood and didn't punish you for it. The mind is biased. It protects your self-image. It stores high-resolution memories of your kindness and low-resolution memories of theirs. So when you say, I deserve more because I give more, there is a good chance you're not seeing the full picture. That doesn't mean you're lying. It means your lens is distorted. If you cling to that distorted lens, it becomes impossible to notice where you are also being selfish, avoidant, or emotionally lazy. Harsh truth number 2. Your partner is not an unfinished product you ordered from a catalog. Many people stay in relationships not with the person in front of them, but with a fantasy version in their head. The slightly improved partner. The once they grow, once they heal, once they change partner. You might keep investing under the assumption that one day they will turn into your ideal. When they don't, entitlement explodes. After all this time, I deserve more than this version of you. Here's the reality. You did not buy a project. You chose a human being with a specific mixture of strengths, wounds, habits, and limits. If you stay, you are staying with who they actually are today, not just who they could be in theory. Yes, people can grow. Yes, partners can adapt, heal, improve. But no one is obligated to become your fantasy. And you are not obligated to stay if your core needs and values consistently clash. The harsh part is this. If you decide to stay while constantly resenting who they are, you are not the noble, long-suffering hero. You are participating in the damage. Because living under someone's constant, silent disappointment is its own kind of cruelty. Your entitlement tells you, I deserve more from them. A more honest sentence might be, I need to either accept who they are and build something real with that, or admit that this relationship is not right for me. Harsh truth number 3. Using I deserve more as quiet revenge will poison you first. Sometimes, people don't leave a relationship physically, but they leave emotionally. They stay under the same roof but start withdrawing effort as punishment. Fewer affectionate touches, less kindness, less curiosity. They stop being generous and start keeping receipts. You hurt me, so I will give you the minimum. I'll do what's required, but my heart will no longer show up. I deserve more than what you give me, so I will give you less. This is emotional revenge dressed up as self-respect. It feels satisfying in the short term, because you feel like you're finally in control. But it also turns you into someone you don't actually want to be. Quiet revenge corrodes you from the inside. You become colder, more suspicious, less capable of intimacy, not just with this partner, but with the next one too. You're training your heart to protect itself by starving connection. If you're honest, some of your high standards might just be anger you haven't processed. Instead of saying, I'm deeply hurt and I don't know how to forgive you, you say, you don't deserve my softness anymore. That choice may be understandable, especially after repeated wounds. But if you intend to stay, it is a choice that kills any chance of real repair. Harsh truth number 4. Love does not owe you constant emotional highs. A lot of entitlement in modern relationships comes from confusing love with permanent emotional fireworks. You see highlight reels online. Surprise trips, big gifts, grand romantic gestures. What you don't see are the hours of boring logistics, mismatched moods, misunderstandings, and everyday annoyances that every real couple goes through. If your standard is, I deserve to feel deeply in love and fully understood most of the time, you will be disappointed in every relationship you ever have. Not because you don't deserve love, but because no human can keep you in a permanent emotional summer. Long-term love is more like weather than a movie. There are sunny days, storms, long stretches of cloudy, normal, nothing special days. This doesn't mean you should accept a relationship that is chronically cold, distant, or disrespectful. It does mean that if you interpret every low-energy week or season as proof that you deserve better, you will never build the kind of deep, steady connection that only grows through imperfect, boring, real life. Some of the magic you crave is on the other side of showing up when it's not magical. So where does responsibility lie? On both sides. Men need to own the ways they sometimes hide behind work, pride, and silence to avoid facing their partner's pain. They need to admit when I deserve respect is being used as a shield against any criticism at all, even the kind that could help them grow. They need to see where bare minimum effort, emotionally, domestically, relationally, is being justified with, well, I'm not cheating, I'm providing, what more do you want? Women need to own the ways they sometimes weaponize high standards and language of worth to avoid vulnerability. They need to admit when I deserve more is being used not to set healthy boundaries, but to stay in a permanent position of moral superiority, where they never have to look at their own contempt, control, or constant criticism. They need to see where they demand mind reading instead of using clear, calm communication. And both need to own the shared responsibility. The silent scorekeeping, the emotional laziness, the way phones are allowed to be more interesting than each other, the way small gratitude is withheld as punishment, the way curiosity is replaced by assumptions. It is harsh to admit that you are not just the victim of your partner's shortcomings, but also a contributor to the distance between you. Yet this is where your real power lives. As long as the story stays, "I deserve more and you are the problem," there is nowhere to go except breakup or bitter coexistence. The moment the story shifts to, "We are both hurting and both defending ourselves badly," new doors appear. Not easy ones, but real ones. So if "I deserve more" can be both a warning sign and a weapon, what do you do with it? How do you keep your standards and self-respect without slowly poisoning your connection? The way out is rarely dramatic. It's usually a series of small, consistent shifts that change the emotional climate of the relationship over time. One of the most powerful shifts is moving from silent scorekeeping to explicit agreements. As long as everything stays in your head, who does more, who cares more, who tries more, you will both feel cheated. Instead, choose a calm moment, not in the middle of a fight, and say something like, "I realize I've been keeping a secret scoreboard. It's making me resentful. Can we look at our life like a team and decide together what's fair?" You might sit down and literally list the invisible work: who handles bills, meals, kids' logistics, family calls, emotional support. Not to punish, but to see clearly. Many men are genuinely shocked when they see the mental load written down. Many women are surprised to realize how much silent financial or protective pressure their partner carries. Once you both see the full map, you can renegotiate. Maybe he takes over bedtime routine 3 nights a week. Maybe she handles one financial task each month. The point is not perfect equality, but a shared sense that you are both carrying the load in a way that feels fair. When things feel fair, the sentence "I deserve more" becomes less sharp, less urgent. Another shift that helps is creating tiny pockets of undivided attention. Long-term couples often underestimate how starved they are for real presence. You don't need a luxury vacation. You need 10 minutes where you're not half listening with one eye on your phone. Many couples benefit from a simple ritual. 10 minutes a day, no screens, no multitasking, just checking in. One person talks about whatever is on their mind for 5 minutes while the other listens without fixing, defending, or advising. Then you switch. It sounds almost too simple, but this kind of consistent low-pressure connection can calm a lot of hidden entitlement. When you feel regularly heard, you're less likely to explode with, "You never listen." When you feel regularly appreciated, you're less likely to shout, "You don't deserve me." The emotional bank account gets small daily deposits instead of waiting for grand, rare gestures. It also helps to make your requests concrete instead of magical. A magical request is, "I want you to be more romantic." A concrete request is, "It would mean a lot to me if once a month you planned a small date, even if it's just a walk and ice cream." A magical request is, "I want you to respect me more." A concrete request is, "When I'm talking, can you put your phone down and look at me for a few minutes? It makes me feel like my words matter." When you switch from vague, idealized demands to specific, doable behaviors, you give your partner a chance to actually succeed. You move from testing them to inviting them. That doesn't guarantee they will show up, but at least the path is clear. And if they consistently refuse reasonable, specific requests, you're no longer dealing with entitlement. You're dealing with incompatibility or neglect, which requires different decisions. For many men, a helpful adjustment is learning to verbally name their inner world, not just show love through actions. Saying, "I fixed the car, paid the bills, what more do you want?" is rarely soothing to a partner who feels emotionally alone. But saying, "I know I've been distant this week. I've been stressed about money and I didn't know how to talk about it. I care about you, and I'm trying to do better at letting you in," can land very differently. You don't have to become a poet. A few honest sentences can bridge a gap that silent effort never will. For many women, a helpful adjustment is learning to express hurt without layering contempt on top of it. Instead of opening with, "Other men would never," try, When this happens, I feel unimportant and that really scares me. I'm not saying you're a bad partner. I'm saying I need us to pay attention to this together. The same message, I'm hurting and I need more from you, but delivered in a way that invites growth rather than triggers shame. Another practical shift is to create no courtroom conversations. Pick a time once a week where you both agree this is not about proving who's right or who gives more. It's about sharing what's been heavy and what's been beautiful. You might ask each other two simple questions. Where did you feel alone this week? And where did you feel appreciated this week? Listen to the answers as if you're listening to a friend, not a defendant. No cross-examining, no, yes, but what about? Just listening, reflecting back, I get why that felt that way. Over time, these conversations can reveal patterns that your entitlement was hiding. You might realize, wow, I've been so focused on what I'm not getting that I haven't noticed how much pressure you're under at work. Or, I didn't realize that my jokes about other husbands were landing like daggers in your sense of worth. That awareness doesn't erase your needs, but it softens the edges. It's also important to reframe the inner sentence. Instead of, I deserve more, try asking, what do we need to change so that both of us can thrive here? This small linguistic shift moves you from a one-player game to a two-player collaboration. You're no longer the judge handing out a verdict. You're a teammate naming a problem. And quietly, you can also ask yourself some harder questions. If I stop telling myself I'm the one who gives more, what uncomfortable truths would I have to face about how I show up? Where am I expecting my partner to fill holes that come from my past, my family, my own self-worth? This doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything. It means taking back power. If you see where entitlement is covering old wounds, fear of being invisible, fear of failing, fear of being trapped, you can start working on those wounds directly through self-reflection, therapy, journaling, or honest conversations, instead of demanding that your partner somehow cure them by behaving perfectly. In many couples, small experiments go a long way. A week of daily 10-minute check-ins. One evening where you each plan a tiny act of kindness for the other. One conversation where you practice saying, this is what I feel, this is what I need, and this is what I appreciate about you, all in the same breath. No single habit will transform everything overnight. But these small, realistic shifts are how you move from silently repeating, I deserve more, to actively building a relationship where both of you can say, we're not perfect, but we're learning to show up better for each other. Most of us were never given a healthy script for love. We were handed fragments, a parent's quiet bitterness, a movie's dramatic reunion, a culture's loud slogans about knowing your worth and never settling. Then we were thrown into relationships and told, without words, figure it out. So we improvise. We copy what we saw growing up, we react against what hurt us, we swallow what the internet tells us we deserve, and we hope it all adds up to something like happiness. When it doesn't, it's very tempting to reach for the simplest story. I'm the one who cares more. They're the one who fails me. I deserve better. It's not that this story is always wrong. Sometimes, it's painfully accurate. There are relationships where one person truly is being neglected, disrespected, or emotionally starved, no matter how calmly and clearly they try to address it. There are situations where I deserve more is not entitlement, but a lifeline, a voice pulling you toward leaving, something that is slowly breaking you. But in many other cases, the story is only half true. You do deserve care, respect, effort, tenderness. Your needs do matter. At the same time, your partner is not a villain in a simple movie, but a complex person carrying their own fears and blind spots. They, too, are quietly asking, do I matter here? Am I allowed to be imperfect and still be loved? If you stay only in the language of deserving, you will keep measuring and judging. If you move into the language of understanding, you have a chance to grow. Understanding doesn't mean excusing everything. It means you stop telling the story in which you are the only generous one, the only aware one, the only person who is trying. You start seeing the smaller, quieter ways your partner has also been trying. Not always in the right direction, not always with the right tools, but trying. And you also start seeing more clearly where they aren't trying, where they are hiding, where they are letting fear or laziness run the show. That clarity is not meant to shame them. It's meant to give both of you a real choice. You can then say, this is what a life together asks from us. Are we both willing to show up for that? Sometimes the answer will be yes, with work. Sometimes the answer will be no, and the most loving thing you can do, for both of you, is to step away. This channel will never tell you to stay in a relationship that crushes your dignity or safety just to prove you're not entitled. Leaving can also be an act of responsibility when staying would only deepen the damage. But if you are in a relationship where there is still basic goodwill, where both of you have hurt each other but neither is trying to destroy the other, then there is usually more room to move than you think. Small acts of honesty can slowly melt years of quiet resentment. Simple rituals of attention can begin to refill an emotional bank account that's been overdrawn for too long. Under all the layers of "I deserve more," most people carry the same simple hope: to be loved by someone who sees them clearly, flaws included, and still chooses to stay and grow together. That kind of love doesn't come from winning the comparison game or finding a perfect partner who never triggers your fears. It comes from two imperfect people learning each other's language, taking turns being strong when the other is tired, and admitting, "I get scared too. I get selfish too. But I don't want fear and pride to be the ones driving this relationship." No one handed you a manual for this. You are allowed to have messed it up so far. You are allowed to have been entitled, defensive, or cold. That doesn't have to be the end of the story. You can start again, not from zero, but from a deeper, more honest place. Maybe instead of repeating, "I deserve more," you can begin to ask, "What kind of partner do I want to be, regardless of how perfectly my partner is doing today?" That question brings the power back to you. It invites you to grow into someone who can both hold standards and offer grace, who can both ask for more and also see where you, too, have room to give better. If you heard yourself in this story, on her side, on his side, or on both, maybe this is your invitation. Not to fight harder, not to perform more, but to speak more honestly. To say, "Here's where I'm hurting. Here's where I've been unfair. Here's what I hope we can build, if we're both willing." You don't have to say it perfectly. You just have to be honest enough to let the sentence, "I deserve more," turn into a real conversation about we, even if your voice shakes.